is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for X-Wing, the miniatures game, Star Wars X-Wing, the miniatures game. Brad doesn't have the box anymore because this game is a nightmare to store. Now, this has been a long time since I have played this. I used to own, I went crazy whenever I was first playing it, and then it was basically one of those games where I didn't want to play competitively because it made me mad, and I had no one to play it, casually. So I just ended up selling everything. This was all when first edition, before they did even I think before they even did the Force Awakens pack.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was out of it before that the first time.
And Force Awakens, that wasn't even second edition, right? That was just
still first.
It was still first, yeah. That's what I thought. So then Brad got a hold of a bunch of stuff for second edition, and I gotta say, my feelings haven't changed whatsoever on this game. It is still a fiddly mess that I don't really want to play casually. Not because it's really bad or anything, but the amount of setup time, the amount of work you're gonna have to put into it, storage solution is just all over the place. That it's almost a chore. This is a chore of a game to
play. It's a lifestyle game. I mean, if you're into it, you're into it. And that's,
Yeah, I mean, now granted, we did a quick build, which is the only way I would ever want to play it, because I don't want to sit here through every single card, through every single ship, because each ship, the TIE Advanced has a stack of, people that you can use, and then you have to pick your builds for it. Like you mentioned, it's a lifestyle game. There's a reason why I don't play Magic anymore. It's just one of those things that you keep sinking money into it, and this is just a game that you play all the time. So, definitely not a game for me. But let's talk about some negatives.
Well, before we get into that, I prefer, today with the time,
Sure,
what it is and stuff, using the quick setup is fine, but this game rewards knowing your ships.
Oh yeah.
Just like anything.
Yeah.
But, so, throwing together stuff, I know for a fact I misplayed the hell out of the Millennium Falcon on this one, just because there was some sort of synergy that they had picked that I wasn't seeing or something, and everything. So it was just one of those things.
It seemed the synergy with that one was you constantly had ways to get shields and get extra evade while also being able to still do your
and not
360
swarmed by 5 ships. That was it's kind of one of those things you know your deal, and I prefer building my ship, because this one, like we hadn't talked on here, is it's all app based when the app works.
Yeah.
And so you put together your points on the app, and you get to pick your cards and there's a lot of free wielding stuff, so you can make the ships as complex as you want to. But yeah, it is what it is on this right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, it's still kind of a gripe even with like Magic, for example, is you can have the perfect build, you can have the perfect deck, but you can still get hosed by mana screw or by dice, in this case. Because I don't think I built any particular way. The only synergy I even had was between one of my Valen Rudor, which just helped him do extra actions if the peons that I had near him were being attacked. But you never attacked him, so I was like, well, he's useless now. It's just Vader was just so good. This is one of those games that it sounds better than what it ends up being. Like, it sounds like it's going to be super fun maneuvering these ships, doing the dogfighting, but it ends up being slower than what you think it to be, and then it's also extremely fiddly, just because you have, is that base touching? Well, I don't know, because your miniature got in the way, so I don't know. I guess not. And if you're playing competitively, actually, no, you would have hit, so we can't shoot you. Like, you just have those salty, toxic people.
Well, and I will say that the way we played now, it wasn't a good representation necessarily, because this game's best when it's like 2 ships against 2 ships.
Oh, sure.
3. When you start having a lot of ships out there, it starts getting extra fiddly.
Yeah.
And all this different stuff, and it's harder to maneuver on a 3x3 deal.
Right.
That's one reason why that thing said to do 8 points instead of
Yeah.
10 points, you know, because that would have lowered it down to you having probably 4 ships
Yeah.
instead of 5, and I probably would have only had 2.
Right.
You know, so it gives you more space to mess with because we were jumbled into a big fucking mess.
Yeah, we also didn't really do much to move out of the way. Granted, you had the Millennium Falcon, so the entire time I was trying to stay swarmed on you to get him out of the way, because it went exactly as I thought it would. If I can get the Millennium Falcon out of the way, it's just going to go in my favor.
6 of my 10 points was on one
Exactly.
ship.
But I mean, that also kind of defeats the purpose. It's like you have this in Armada, and it's like, well, I want to do X-Wing because of dogfighting. You only get 2 ships. It's like, well, then why don't I just do Armada and just have the big, bombastic, massive 2 ships, and then because they have like the little X-Wings in Armada, if you remember, that represented some dogfighting. It's like, why don't I just do that instead? Because you want to have, I want to have a huge swarm if it allows me to. But you're right, it then just lends itself to be extremely fiddly. Not only just maneuvering, because that's just kind of a miniatures game. It which does reward if you can see the trajectory of how they're gonna how they're gonna land, how they're gonna move, predicting your opponent, how they're gonna move, and then it's just like, oh man, okay, I think if he does this, then I can maneuver, and I'll be out of his line of sight, and I'll be able to get him, and that's where the true theme and the dogfighting comes in, but it's one of those games, if you are not fully experienced with it, you're not going to get that.
Right.
And it's a reason why I got out of it, because the guy I was playing it with against regularly, that's all he played. So he was able to just completely eat my ass whenever it came to, he's just like, I knew you were going to do that. Now I'm going to, flank both of them, and then I'm going to use all these abilities. I'm just like, dude, what? Why am I playing against you? So it took the fun out of it, and I don't know. So, I mean, a few negatives for me, obviously, are those dice. It's just, it's not fun whenever you put all that effort into trying to outthink your opponent, and then it's like, okay, so I did this, I did precision guessing, I'm right up on you, I get 9 dice, and they're all blanks. Alright, that's pretty cool. I will never get another shot like that again. And that's just not fun for me.
Yeah, that was what kind of happened. That's because I was going in with those big 5 dice rolls with the Falcon, and I whiffed, and then I got surrounded. I was going in that way to destroy a ship or 2 before, that way reduce the...
Right.
Because my plan was going to be to move that in there, take out a ship or 2, that he'd get surrounded, my other ones were behind to start picking off those.
Yeah.
But I just whiffed on those 2 rolls, and then I was just fucked.
Exactly. Because it's like, oh, well, I'm here now.
Yeah.
Because, once your shields went down, then it was like, oh, I'm only rolling 1 evade. And so, that could have worked, though. If your dice had gone great, you would have just blown all these up, and then it's like, well, I have Vader, and then Vader would eventually got picked off. So, I mean, and that's what bugs me about especially competitive, like 1v1 games, when it's like, well, I didn't play better than you. The dice just went in my favor. And for a game that's so tedious in setup and storage and moving it over to, hey, I'm going to a friend's house, better load up the truck with all these different tokens, and just to have it really come down to, because I don't think it was a bad matchup.
Oh, no, it was equal. I'd be interested if my app was working to see what the points were. Just to see what the point actually was. Because we normally set a 200-point army. I bet this was probably closer to 300.
Okay. Because we went up to 10th threat.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was just curious, if they were similar.
Yeah. Technically, yours was illegal.
Well, right. No, I know, and that's another problem with just the quick setup, because you don't pay attention with that. That's just the casual, just set up and go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just kind of wanted to get the run through up just to have it on the channel. I mean, the game is fine. It's not a game that, whenever you and I haven't played a game in a while, that it's like revolutionary, that I'm getting back into this or something.
Oh, yeah.
No, absolutely not. I don't love Star Wars enough to just have the minis, even though the minis are really nice, especially when these were coming out. I remember how they came out and they were painted, and it was like, oh, you never saw like a high publisher actually come with pre-painted minis that represented the ship. So And at this point now they have Rebels, Empire, First Order, Scum and Villainy.
There's seven factions now you can choose from. That's why when I went into the second edition, because I just wanted to get a decent sized collection, but I stuck with the original 3 from first edition. I have the Scum and Villainy, the Imperial, and the Rebel. Because there's the Revolution group, which is that's the Force Awakens deal. So you have a lot of the
Rebellion, right?
Yeah, you have a lot of like those people, Poe Dameron and stuff like that.
Right.
And what's his nuts? Emo dude.
Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
I went to Finn.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't remember him being emo.
But it's like they went with all these. There's that robot faction, that's just all the droid.
Oh, that's cool. All the bounty hunters or like the IG.
They're made of. I can't think of the name of them right now, but they're the Separatist Alliance.
Oh, okay.
They're all.
I gotcha.
But they have all these different factions now. I just have a good collection of those 3.
Sure.
To have.
Which is something to keep in mind if you're looking at this and you're like, oh, should I get into it? If you love Star Wars and they have everyone, you can make any scenario happen that you want, which is a huge positive because there's a lot of games out there that are IP related and it's like kind of like a what if kind of scenario, and you can get that here. You can have like what we did with Chewbacca, Han and Leia and Luke versus fighting Darth Vader and all these nameless other people that I had. I don't know, Night Beast and Valen Ruder, Val Kilmer.
Well, they do have a expansions out for this that are scenarios.
Oh, that's right.
Because you can do stuff. There's the scenarios where you're trying to rescue the transports out and do all that odds and ends.
Forgot they had that. They did the scenarios, which is something that if you don't have a lot of people to play it with, it's like, well, if you have one other person, you can do the scenarios together.
Well, and at the conventions, a lot of the like Gen Con stuff, they'll do the reenacting of the trench run.
Oh, neat.
So they have all that stuff, and you can play a huge game of that where they have like that stuff. But the one thing that's cool about this is Fantasy Flight. About a year, it was probably about March or April during the pandemic when last year's when they came out with the beta that they're working on for the solo play for this game.
Have you tried that yet?
I've messed with the beta a little bit. I mean, they're still tweaking it. It's trying to do AI stuff, and they roll dice, and there's different stuff. It's pretty intuitive right now, but I'm waiting to see how they.
That's probably if they can pull it off. That's a rough solo variant. I would almost assume, man, that would be hard to try and AI.
Right.
A miniatures game. If they can pull it off, then
it's got like charts and this. And if this, and it's just.
It sounds like it'd be too much work.
It's a lot better. Like I'm giving it because it's the bait. It's early. Like it's very early. They just had to print files on so people could be playing it at home and play testing while they're at home on pandemic.
Gotcha.
And then I don't know where it's at now, but
yeah,
that's the main reason I'm keeping it because of that. Plus, if I ever get so sick of the game I don't ever want to play it, I have a lot of cool models to send around places.
Exactly. Like I'm not. It's not. This isn't really a negative discussion, and obviously the run through is one scenario of many that there's probably rules that we miss because the game is pretty technical with a lot of different things, and especially if you do a quick build, it's like you mentioned, it's a lifestyle game. If you know the ships well, then you could probably do a quick build. But we had to quick build and then also learn. Oh shit, what does Vader do?
Right.
Okay, I have all this stuff. It's not that it's like complex, but it is a lot. Especially if you have one 6-level threat card and it has 8 things, and it's like, okay, now I have to try and figure out the synergy while also trying to read my opponent and what they're gonna do.
Well, and that's the one reason why I chose the Rebels instead of Scum, because I played Scum. That was my deal. I played competitively. I did everything.
Gotcha.
So, like, you give me Boba Fett and some headhunters, I'm good to go. So I wanted to do something new.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing is, I mean, a potential negative is it's one of those things that you might not be able to casually play because if it's like, well, I've played this all the time. Let me just get someone else to play. You don't know what's going on. Well, I'm just gonna annihilate you.
Well, and this was a casual game, but because I've played this competitively, we can sit here and say it's as casual as ever, but that's why I got butt hurt because I'm still competitive.
Yeah.
Even though I'm trying not to, so it's just like, oh, it's over.
Yeah.
Because you just know. I mean, and games,
yeah.
You know,
This is one of those things where there's almost. I mean, you could have potentially, if you had destroyed maybe one or two of my ships, you probably could have. But once there were still 5, once your main ship went down, it's like, okay, yeah, let's just call it. You were just gonna have Luke fly off the map just to die anyway.
That's my plan. That's why Sabine was going that way, and Luke
was
going that way. I was gonna run him off.
And Vader actually was one who blew. Actually, no, I think one of my Peon ships did destroy the Falcon from a 3 distance away just because I rolled well.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The game is good. It is just not a game for me. It's pretty much, and usually whenever I talk about discussions, I am hard one or hard on the other of whether it's good or bad. This isn't a bad game, but I do think that it's a niche market, and there are flaws in it. But
it is an improvement over first edition.
Oh yes, absolutely. Especially just in production quality. You don't have tiny ass cards with like a paragraph of text that you can barely read and keep track of. Yeah, it's all very easily organized, and it does seem a lot more streamlined with things that were busted from first edition, like the Millennium Falcon. And like, I didn't think that was gross at all. It was definitely, it had its advantages because you constantly had ways to either get extra maneuvers or get extra shields back.
First edition Millennium Falcon was very strong.
Yeah.
And the 360 fire arc where you didn't have to worry about turrets, you could just shoot any direction you wanted to.
Yeah, and they were probably going for like, it's a Millennium Falcon, it's it's an iconic ship, we have to make it OP.
And you could also do multiple attacks. There was upgrades you could do do extra attacks, so you could just get, like, if I was in the same situation I went with you, I could go in there, if I had the upgrade, I could do a full on, I would have been able to do that free attack at 7.
Yeah.
I would have been able to do a 360 attack, and then I'd be able to use that upgrade to do another 360 attack.
Yeah, and it's like okay. And that's actually one of the issues with this game, and with many others that are competitive and have a lot of stuff, is there is a meta. There was a meta in first edition for sure, and I'm sure there's a meta for second edition, albeit maybe not as powerful. And usually with those kinds of games, that can be frustrating because you see the same thing every time, especially in competitive, where it's like, man, I want to try this build, that sounds cool. Oh, you don't want to do that because that's shit, because here's what everyone else is going to do. It's like, so I don't get to play the way I want? Right. No. I mean, yeah, it's a game. I'm amazed that it has stayed around as long as it has, especially.
It's still one of the biggest sellers.
Yeah.
For them. People go nuts still.
Right.
It's crazy.
All right. One thing that is, I think, new in this versus the first edition is the use of Force.
Yes.
I actually liked that. I thought that was pretty cool. It made, because you had iconic characters who had the Force that you got to utilize in completely different ways. Like Luke didn't have much. He actually had less Force than Darth Vader, but he had ways of generating it quicker. And basically the Force can be used either for special abilities or to mitigate die rolls. And then, like with Darth Vader, he was able to do double actions and with his specific ship. So I thought that was pretty neat, having Force users. But that's it. Scale of 1 to 10.
Let me go first.
Sure.
I want to give it a lower score now after this experience, but I'm not, because it's just one game. This is a game that's in my top 100. But I just haven't played it a ton.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see where it falls this next time. I'll probably say 7.5.
7.5 maybe.
I mean, right, 7.5 or an 8.
Yeah.
I mean, just because I love playing it. It's just when you have those bad experiences, it makes you wanna.
Yeah. Gets you a little bit salty.
Yeah.
I know where you're at. This would not make my top 100. It wouldn't even come anywhere close. If you were to be like, oh, do you want to play? I'd say sure, but I'd want to do another quick build, which is not what you want to do, because I don't want to sit here and take the time to do a build list. Now, what I would do, which would probably make my experience a little bit better, is if you made the builds, and you're like, oh, here's one.
And that's what I was going to say. That I don't know if it's because I have bad connection with it or what, but that app that they made it was one of probably the biggest things they did with this game, because the reason they made a second edition is because first edition their power creep got really crazy. Like Vader was really good in first, and then they couldn't go past him. Like everybody started playing the same thing, whatever. What they've done with this second edition, there's no point values on the cards at all. You go in and they can update it on their app, so that if there's something that if they want to change the meta, or if there's something that's overpowered, they can make the points higher, so it takes up more of your 200 team points.
Gotcha.
So that you have to alter your stuff around a little bit.
That's smart.
That's very, very smart that they did that. And then likewise, going back to what made me start talking about that, is you can build your steals here and save them on the app.
Oh,
so
okay.
You have, like, I could go through and spend some time and build a good deck, you know, or whatever, and have it there. So like, and I could build one for you.
Yeah, you could be like, okay,
and
who do you want? I could be like, oh, I want Palpatine. You'd be like, okay, I'll build you one.
Right.
For
I mean, so that app is really cool for that, and that's one of the things that was a really good decision with
that
this.
That is
they
really
can
smart.
always adjust it, you know, just to make it more.
That's true. Man, I think I'm not as high as you, just because I would only ever play this if like you specifically asked me. I don't think I would request it again. It's not a bad game. I'm kind of sitting at a 6, like still above average, but it's not amazing. And I remember I was like wowed by it whenever I first got it. Then it's just one of those games that I'll forget about. I mean, I won't, because obviously it's a huge thing, but it's around. It's fine, and I mean, but I'm also not that big into Star Wars.
So, yeah.
So if I was huge into Star Wars, I'd probably bump it up another point. Kind of like what I did with Bloodborne. Like Bloodborne as a game was an 8, but it's a 9 because I love it. It'd be the same here. It's 7 if I'm geeking out over Star Wars, but it's a 6 for me personally.
And the Scum is fun. I mean, that's a fun group because they're like cheaty and all kinds of stuff. So they're kind of cool too. These guys are we played the ones that we know. I mean, like
exactly.
You know,
I mean,
Vader, Luke, blah blah blah. But you start throwing in
is Baby Yoda in it yet?
No.
Well, this game is trash. So
we need to do that without a rim.
Oh, I know, right? Alright, so that's our thoughts on X-Wing, Star Wars X-Wing, the miniatures game. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.